The Jeffrey Epstein story won't go away, and it shouldn't. There are theories that Epstein was a Mossad agent blackmailing U.S. leaders of other countries. He ran a blackmail operation with Ghislaine Maxwell. There are a lot of claims made about Jeffrey Epstein. But there is a big fat elephant in the room our establishment refuses to acknowledge. Jeffrey Epstein is a product of the intelligence agencies of the world. And most likely, he was created by our CIA. Jeffrey Epstein was made in the USA. Jeffrey Epstein was born and raised in Seagate, Brooklyn, a once wealthy gated community, but the Epstein family landed there in its middle-class days. Seagate is a neighborhood bordering Coney Island, and in the 60s, Coney Island was considered a rougher part of town. But the Epstein family was safely nestled in this gated community. Now, you've heard all the Jeffrey Epstein was a math whiz garbage. He was pretty clever at math, but nothing spectacular, and all this feels like a profile manufactured for him, the way Emmanuel Macron's profile was manufactured for him, like he was some kind of wonderkind, but he's really a fraud and kind of a perv. As a young person in school, he was on a math team, and he had this reputation for being good at math, but no one remembers anything exceptional about his math skills. He just sort of had this reputation. One of his neighbors said he was a little nerdy boy. That's actually from a report. He attended a prestigious exclusive summer camp in 1967. It's called the Interlochen Center for the Arts, and it's in Michigan. Here's Jeffrey on the left. Look at this guy. He's not wearing any socks. He's got the sleeves of his shirt rolled up. He's the only kid in the picture dressed like this. There is an internet conspiracy theory that a young William Barr went there with him in 1967. And here's a kid that looks just like future Attorney General William Barr. Yes, this young man does look a lot like William Barr. However, William Barr says he never attended Interlochen in 1967 and that this young man isn't him. This picture of William Barr is from his 1967 high school yearbook, and you can see the young man pictured looks quite different. Now, I do struggle with the fact that the man on the right looks a hell of a lot more like William Barr than the young man on the left, who is William Barr, looks like William Barr. You know what I'm saying? The kid on the right, who's not supposed to be William Barr, really looks like William Barr, but actual William Barr from his high school yearbook doesn't look like William Barr. But this is all kind of rabbit hole-y, and William Barr says he never attended the camp, so they probably weren't plotting on dominating the world yet at the camp. Jeffrey Epstein skips 2 grades in 1969, graduates from Lafayette High School. He's 16 years old. He then went to Cooper Union, and then he changed colleges to the Courant Institute of Mathematical Sciences. Stayed there for a couple years, but he left without receiving a degree. We need to take a step back to 1970, when Jeffrey Epstein is just 17 years old. He took a trip, evidently, to Montreal. Montreal is almost 400 miles away from Brooklyn, where Jeffrey Epstein lived. According to Ian Halperin, a reporter and writer who was born in Montreal, Canada, Jeffrey Epstein told him, "Montreal is where I honed my skills at a very young age." Epstein is also quoted as saying, "If not for Montreal, I would have never gotten into all this." So what is in Montreal for a young Jeffrey Epstein? According to Ian Halperin, who was speaking with the Montreal Gazette, he said that Epstein went on a rampage with underage girls in Montreal. Epstein allegedly made subsequent trips to Montreal and said how it was one of his favorite cities. And Epstein spoke about how beautiful the girls in Montreal were. What else is in Montreal? Well, there's Conrad Black, who was born in Montreal. Conrad Black is a media mogul, and he will appear in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book of Contacts several times. Years later, he ran a company called the Hollinger Group, and it went to war with itself over some media properties, and hey look, Lex Wexner is a director of that group. Conrad Black would also interfere in Vicky Ward's story when she was going to out Jeffrey Epstein as a perv. He interfered in the Vanity Fair piece and helped get it squelched. Vicky Ward herself admitted this. We have not heard the last of Conrad Black in this saga, but who else would be in Montreal at this time? There's a very good chance Robert and Ghislaine Maxwell could surface here. Robert Maxwell would very much be taken with Jeffrey Epstein at this age, and so would Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, even though Jeffrey Epstein was hunting for underage girls, she would have been only like 9 or 10 at this time, so he probably wasn't hunting for her. But if she saw him in that element, oh man, that would really explain her dedication to him. I know that sounds crazy, but the ultra-rich like this circle, these are complete freaks, and you cannot believe the stuff they expose their children to. Robert Maxwell would go on to launch the Montreal Daily News right out of Montreal many years later, so he was definitely there establishing business relationships. Some years later, Ghislaine Maxwell would attend high school, Oxford High School, with Diana Fox Carney and Martha Lane Fox. Diana Fox Carney is the wife of the current Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. He took office in March of 2025. Martha Lane Fox is her sister, and Ghislaine Maxwell was their classmate. And there are pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell cavorting with the Carneys. So Ghislaine Maxwell is most likely entwined with the Carneys throughout their adult lives. So at this moment, Jeffrey Epstein is 17, and this picture presented here is a lot different than the narrative we have been sold that started with the Dalton School. All of these people had business in, started businesses in, or were born in Montreal. And while this is speculation he was there with any of them, he was there with someone who procured him young girls. I would love to hear from anyone who knows what happened with Jeffrey Epstein in Montreal in 1970. If any of this is true, this would be his first intersection into the intelligence world and the world of high society. Establishing a concrete connection here would tell us a lot about the machine that became Jeffrey Epstein. Amazingly enough, this is not the only opportunity for the very young pre-Dalton School Jeffrey Epstein to make his way into high society. There's another chance. A longtime friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Stuart Pavar, who was one of the founders of the New York Academy of Art, along with Andy Warhol, found a young Jeffrey Epstein in the early 70s playing piano in the lobby of Jimmy Goldsmith's mansion on the east side of New York City. In an interview he granted to Mother Jones magazine, he explained this and some other things about his longtime relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. So let's take it back to 1970 when Jeffrey Epstein is in Montreal having his formative rampage. Who is Jimmy Goldsmith and what would he have to do with this scene of people? Jimmy Goldsmith was definitely friends with Robert Maxwell, and he also sat on the board of Hollinger with Les Wexner. And remember, that's Conrad Black's company. Seeing that Jeffrey Epstein is playing piano in Jimmy Goldsmith's house in his teens and possibly early 20s, this lays the groundwork to explain how he may have taken trips like that to Montreal. With friends like this, he's being exposed to a lot, and it sounds like he's being groomed by these people. By the time he gets to the Dalton School, it is most likely not happenstance that Donald Barr meets Jeffrey Epstein. He was most likely introduced by someone in this circle. Before we go on to the next part of this series, which will explain what went down at the Dalton School, I want to again ask anyone with any information about what happened with Jeffrey Epstein in Montreal in the 70s, please contact me. Your information will remain private. Contact us at tipsforvinny@gmail.com. We'll have a link below. Thank you for listening.